It's immaterial. Yeah, that's immaterial.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to worry too much in that situation. I mean, again, we're talking about two different, patents here. We're talking about the yours, which escapes my mind, Macrosolve, which is, I think only 30 people, 30 companies have been sued. And that has to do with submitting a form over the internet to a central server from a mobile device, right?
Collecting data from one device, putting it into another device, and making it available.
So everyone's screwed on that one. And then in my case, it's in-app purchase. That's what it started with. So if you have an app with in-app purchase, that means you have a free app or a paid app, and you're providing an additional feature or an upgrade or something, and you're retaining those revenues. That's who they initially went after, and that's pretty much everyone in the store who has a popular app probably uses in-app purchase. Apple gives you no other way to collect money. They're covered, but Lodsys says the developers aren't covered. So that's where the issue started, but then they started going after light versions, promoting paid versions. So again, your company would be making money in that case. In my case, I'm linking to another one of my apps, which is a paid app. So there's money being made in all of those scenarios. If you're not producing revenue, like we just said, you're not really a target. So even if you're promoting Amazon, maybe you're doing an affiliate program and you're making 5% or whatever, but that's still revenue. You have to have revenue coming in.
Go ahead, gentleman in the back.
When they file a lawsuit, do they disclose their desired licensing terms early on?
Is that the question? Do they tell you what the term is?
2%, because if they did that, then a lot of people could decide very quickly 2% versus $100,000.
Typically those types of discussions are protected by a confidentiality agreement. They don't want the community at large to know what each person is selling. We talked to Jonathan. The terms of his agreement are confidential. He's not permitted to talk about it.
I mean, do they disclose to you?
If I engage with their counsel, the counsel will tell me, yes, write us a check for $100,000 and we'll go away. I'm like, I don't make $100,000. Well, write us a check for $50,000 to go away. Well, I don't make $50,000. Well, how much do you make? Okay, 10%. That sounds good. Well, I don't want to pay you 10%. Okay. Well, 5%. It is very ad hoc in many cases. Some cases are very sophisticated and tight. Some cases are, I just need to find the pain point for you to write a check. Right?
So, Mark.
It's surprising in some cases.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was going to piggyback on her question earlier that basically says, does us being in this room and talking about this and now gaining some knowledge about this mean that we are now, I don't know what the word is, indemnified or whatever, against against accidental negligence? Are we now purposefully negligent if we go and write software at some point that does anything that was even discussed, whether we understand it or not? Or is there some
break?
How do we keep ourselves like dumb about this? Hey, I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a difficult question, but I think in most cases, actual notice of the patent is required. So either their stuff is marked, their services are marked, or we're getting into the weeds on some of this, or you've actually gotten a letter that says, here's our patent, you might want to pay attention to this. I think just general awareness from the public or general awareness from talking about it in amongst yourselves is not going to get you a huge amount of exposure. Obviously check with your own attorneys on specific facts. It's a very factual based situation. But again, the threshold typically is you got a letter from the patent owner that said, here's my patent, I think you infringe, or here's my patent, I think you want to take a license to this.
All right, so it's getting to 9 o'clock. Let's take 2 more questions and we'll go home happy.
So there's a large amount of licensing happening by SDK providers and groups like that, and they aren't providing that data to the people who have liability, in this case the developers. Why aren't the developers
I don't think there's a clear answer to that question, but I mean, I do think you bring up an interesting point, is that there's no real group of app developers for either the Android or the iOS market that's putting pressure on Apple or Google or aggregating knowledge and expertise and prior art and patents that you have to really act in your benefit. I mean, I think that the biggest thing that I take away from tonight and this crowd and thinking about this before coming down here is that that's your best defense, is coming together. And I mean, to your point, I think that's a great idea. I mean, ask Apple, ask Google, but the only way that they're going to pay attention is if enough people come to them. And I mean, I don't know, and Z, maybe you have insight here, but I don't know how many, if you have relations with other groups outside DC across the country, because I think that there's, if there was a critical mass of people going to an entity like Apple or Google, they're going to start paying attention. And on the flip side, if there's a critical mass of people that have gotten together and are willing to aggregate their own knowledge of prior art or any patents that you might have in some sort of pool that allows for defense and proactive re-examination and assessing the validity of your patent, of an NPE patent, then I mean, that could be very powerful.
So I'll take the last question. I have two hands here, and then I'll address that question as the closing. So we'll take two, all right? Mark and Mark first.
So this has been a great talk, by the way. Just thank you guys. But it's all about what do you do after the fact, or the hindsight, or all that stuff. What are we doing? What do we do now if we haven't gotten a letter or haven't gotten sued, and we want to write software in the future? Is there a way that we can protect ourselves without spending a lot of money or doing lots of patent searches? Or there's got to be a way going forward. Is there anything?
Well, I just want to mention.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait.
One of the things that you should be doing is documenting what work you're putting in. As David mentioned, prior art is any publicly available document in the world. Start making your own publicly available documents. If you're going to talk about, it's like doing your homework for ordering the survey of your house, right? You don't want people to trespass on your property, you have a survey. If you don't want patent claims in the future to cover your products, describe what your products are. Get that literature out there. Sometimes patents issue not because we don't know that they're obvious, but because we can't point to evidence that supports the fact that they're obvious. And documentation is really your key. There is a company called IP.com where you can actually pay. They will timestamp your documents. They become evidence. They have copies distributed to the patent offices around the world so that examiners in the patent offices can see what you're writing and what you're saying is publicly known and out there. Right now, you can certainly participate, not pay. Article I partners on the other side. Right now, you're sitting on the client side. So why not be on the researcher side? Submit prior art, submit documents that are in your cabinets right now.